Welcome everybody to the bonus episode number de uno. Given that, we've already did a Daytona introduction to everything, we felt like, we might as well just not put 2 weeks of Daytona back to back. So we're going to talk a little bit about the truck and the Xfinity series. And of course, as always, my name's Cole. We got Kent with us. We got Blacko Blake.
I'm back.
Yeah, he gave me his sickness now. It sucks.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, that's what they say. And then we got Austin Dillon's number one fan, Austin Morris. Well, that's basically it. So what we're going to do today, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the little introduction to the truck and the Xfinity series. Talk a little bit about, the oh boy, it's coming, boys, the cough's coming back. We're gonna try to talk a little bit about new drivers and new places, just small little driver appearances and whatnot in regards to like Justin Haley's going to be driving in the truck race, and so will Michael McDowell. But, of course, as always, make sure you're following the socials at 4Wide, even though we hardly ever post anything, mainly because of my, I have a terrible job just getting on social media these days. I really do. Make sure that you're leaving a review on the podcast, wherever you listen to it, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, your mama's house, like wherever you're listening, just leave a review. 5 stars, 1 star, 2 star. It doesn't matter to me. Just leave a review.
We prefer 5 stars.
Shout out to Ecuador.
Yeah. 10, 11 lessons, 10 lessons in Ecuador.
Maybe if NASCAR goes to Brazil, Ecuador's kind of near Brazil. Maybe they'll be able to head down there.
It's on the other side of the country, but yeah.
It's closer than we are. Yeah, fairly.
Oh. Relatively speaking, I guess it's closer than America is, but
yeah,
still a long way to go. And I would imagine traveling through those countries compared to traveling through the United States might be a little bit more difficult. So we're going to talk about the Xfinity series first. So I just want to mention a few new drivers and new places. So Harrison Burton actually moved down. He was in the Cup Series last year. He's with AM Racing, so formerly, a ride that's been not the greatest quality historically. I mean, there's been some really good drivers that's come through and it's not been able to do a lot with it. So, I mean, Logano had a hard time driving that car, if I remember right. I forgot what race last year he drove.
It was at the Chicago Street Course that he drove it at. And I think he finished either 8th or 11th. But, I mean, it was rather abysmal for a Cup caliber driver like him.
Well, and I would imagine that Austin would know this more than anybody, but I would imagine Logano's not a historically great road course racer off the top of his head.
No. Well, I mean, he can get top 10s.
But never like top 5, like always in the running kind of deal.
AM Racing, wasn't that Deegan last year?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
And then the year before that, it was Brett Moffitt, and they ran okay. I mean, they were in contention for the playoffs, I think. But, yeah, ever since last year, it was just downhill bad.
And then you have Carson Kvapil with JRM. He'll be in the number 1, I believe. And
I'm excited. I'm excited for him.
Very much a prestigious young new name, but has a historical name in the motorsports in general. So it's going to be really interested to see. And anybody that gets a JRM ride most of the time, they're going to be at least top caliber of a driver. So I'm looking very forward to seeing what he'll do. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to Connor Zilic, too, this year. That's him and obviously, like, to Benedetto's new kind of team vibe they've got going. But for JRM specifically, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Connor Zilic does this year.
It's an interesting mixture because you have the vet with Allgaier. Sam Mayer's no longer there, but you have Carson Kvapil in the one who has shown a lot of. I've been following him since he was in the car store, and he's been really good in the car store driving for Junior. And then, of course, who's had a couple of opportunities to display his talent. He's pretty talented too. So it's interesting. You have Allgaier, who's the veteran, and then you have the younger talent. I think they're setting up. I don't know how competitive JRM is going to be this year, just because of the lack of experience. But I think moving forward, they're really setting themselves up for success.
You know, what's wild is I have two siblings that are Connor Zilich's age, and he's going to be running a Coda Racing Cup here in a couple weeks. Like, it's just wild. He's that good at 18.
Most definitely.
I'm excited about, I think Carson Kvapil is one of these who is evidence that NASCAR's latest pipeline isn't necessarily through the K&N series, East-West stuff. It's not necessarily even through ARCA, but looking straight at the Cars Tour. And I think that says a lot about the Cars Tour and where the competition is at right now, too. So that's really cool to see. But I think he could have a good season. I mean, he could be like, Josh Berry came up in one of his first starts, won Martinsville. I think you could see a short track win from Carson Kvapil first year. Not going to surprise me. Justin Allgaier's going to be a contender like he is every year. Sammy Smith, I think he could go off in that 8 car, which, by the way, can we talk about how good the DEI 8 font looks on that car?
Yeah, it looks very nice.
It's back, baby. It's back.
Yeah.
It's a thing of beauty.
It's something about the color choice on the car, too, looks really, really smooth. So that's just...
JRM always knocks it out of the park with their schemes. They always do.
That's mainly because Junior put so much importance on, like, when he was racing, he would always, of course, going back, listen to his podcast, he would always talk about how involved he was in the paint scheme process and everything. So, but probably my personal favorite so far move in the Xfinity Series is seeing that Parker Resloff got a ride in that number 4 car, because after the performance that he showed in the fall Martinsville race in the Xfinity Series last year, I could very much see him being a very prominent driver here in the future. Now, of course, he'll be driving for Alpha Prime, which is not a historically great organization, but, I mean, it's a ride at the least. And it was very up in arms if he was going to be able to get a ride, because a lot of people thought that he didn't push Kyle Busch at a certain race in the Cup level, and they thought that was going to come back and haunt him.
Yeah, I think with that whole Daytona deal, man, I think Parker really got the short end of the stick, because it's a one-off deal with I believe he was in the 62 car, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's just trying to get some laps, and he's in contention to win a Cup race. And I truly believe he did what he thought he had to advance himself and put himself in the best position. And I think it got totally overshadowed by the fact that just Richard Childress had just had a god-awful year. And yes, was it a chance for Busch to make the playoffs? Sure. But it ain't like there wasn't 24 other races before that, And so I really thought that was unfortunate to see how he got treated with that, but I hope he does well. I think Alpha Prime's got some potential in the Xfinity Series, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes for him this year.
Then we got Sam Mayer moving over in the 41 for Stuart Haas, or formerly Stuart Haas, now just Haas Racing. And I've been kind of vocal with these guys before. He was never one of my favorite JRM drivers. It's not necessarily, sometimes people's personalities just don't click with me, and his personality never really clicked with me. And was that a laugh? Was that a cough?
No, it was a cough. I'm sorry.
That was a cough too.
We're trying to recover.
I think that when that Roval thing happened, I know that wasn't really, one of his deals, but man, seeing him win that race over Parker Kligerman still gives me nightmares. So, but that's just one of those sore spots, so I won't talk about it too much.
Yeah.
But speaking about Parker Kligerman, due to his retirement in the Xfinity Series, that opened up riding that 48 machine for Big Machine, and Nick Sanchez is taking over that ride. So that's going to be very interesting, because Nick Sanchez is a very highly talented individual. I don't know if it was the right time to move up, but I mean, they thought it was. So,
how many years ago was it? Was it last year that he won the truck race at Daytona to kick off the season?
I was actually there for that, and he drove a really good race. So he could be a sleeper for the Xfinity playoffs this coming up year, especially if he gets lucky right at the right time at a super speedway or something.
Yep.
I mean, look for him to upset the playoffs.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. And the guys over there at Big Machine Racing are always been really nice and very lenient and very nice to their fans. So it's good to see them get a very nice, talented driver to replace Parker. And I know Parker's going to be running in the Truck Series race, but it'll be really cool to see what Nick Sanchez can do. And I guess the last little bit that I have written down is Viking Motorsports for Matt DiBenedetto. They've changed the look of their organization. They've changed the new number, and in addition to that, they actually changed to manufacturers to Chevrolet from Ford, and they're going to be affiliated with Richard Childress Racing. So that's going to be very good for them. I feel like that was a step in the right direction because the parts that they were getting from Ford last year weren't as competitive as what they could be getting from Richard Childress Racing. So
RCR sets the standard, I feel like, for at least the engines that they put out in the Xfinity series. That you see it every year. They go to Daytona, they win the pole. And it's typically by tenths of a second, which for those of you who aren't familiar with how tight things get at Daytona, you're typically talking thousandths of a second for qualifying. And to say, you win it by a tenth or two is crazy. Go ahead, Blake. I felt like you were about to say something really interesting there.
Well, and I think, no, I agree with what you said. And also, Matty D's crew chief this year is Pat Trison. And if I'm not mistaken, he was a big time guy for Mark Martin in the past and some big name guys. So I think he's going to bring a lot of valuable assets to that newish team. And from everything I've seen, the folks at Viking are really, really dead set on trying to get a really good competitive program going. And getting a guy like Pat Trison just shows that they're really serious. And I think playoffs could be a decent goal for them this year. I mean, I think they'll be on the bubble, but I think it could be a possibility for them.
And in addition to that, I know that they said that their pit crew changed as well. So the pit crew that they had last year, I believe it might be a completely new pit crew. They may have kept one or two people, but they completely changed everything up, which, I mean, would make sense when you're switching from manufacturer to a different one. If you had, your team was affiliated with another team, you were essentially, the way that it works is, I think the best way to talk about it is at the cup level. So you got Penske. So the Wood Brothers is essentially like their affiliate, which is also where they train their top pit crew members. And if they showcase they're really good, they end up moving up to the 2 or the 22 ride. So it's kind of the same way with Viking. So if Viking looks like they have a really good tire change or whatever, they could possibly move up to the Xfinity to like maybe Austin Hill's ride, for instance. So
for those who may be more familiar with like how Formula One does things similar with you have Red Bull Racing, and then you have what was formerly known as AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso. It's sort of like it's basically an affiliate program for Red Bull. Red Bull shares their parts of that team, and they basically own 2 extra drivers in the field that, if they desire, they can bring up to the bigger seat at Red Bull Honda. So kind of similar to how that works.
So really excited to see what the Xfinity has in store this year, and I think the Daytona race will be a really good indicator. Usually, historically, there's, like Kent said, Richard Childress Racing in general is usually really good at plate tracks. So specifically, Austin Hill is fantastic at restrictor plate tracks, much to the dismay of May.
Are we doing spicy takes for the Xfinity season, or is it just?
You can do we'll do spicy takes for Daytona, but you can do yours for Xfinity if you want to.
Well, all right, this isn't going to be my spicy take later, so I'm just going to say it now. But y'all heard it here first. Austin Hill wins the first 2 races of the season. He's going to win at Daytona, and then he's going to turn around and win in Atlanta.
Oh, I agree.
He's got a stronghold on Atlanta. Nobody beats him at Atlanta unless they wreck him. I mean, that's happened, but I've been at 46 of the races that he's won there, and it's just he gets out front. He gets out front, and Atlanta's so narrow. And when your car handles well, you just swerve back and forth. You dominate which lane you've got, and he always has the best handling car. He gets to the front, and it's like, all right, this is going to get boring really fast. So, which Atlanta Motor Speedway gets pretty hyped when he wins because he's typically wearing UGA shoes or something like that. He's repping the dogs, and he's a Georgia boy, so I don't mind seeing him win. But I know a lot of people are tired of it.
Hey, the first 2 weeks are going to be his to lose in the Xfinity series.
It might be a spicy take to say he gets wrecked, for the Daytona race, and he doesn't end up winning the race. That might be more spicy than him winning the next 2 races.
Honestly, to say that he finishes outside of the top 10 for both of the first 2 races of the season would be spicier than saying he wins both of them.
For sure.
Because the odds are just not in your favor in regards to that. All right, to the truck series. Now, this is probably my main storyline. Maybe my main guy is Daniel Hemrick moving to the number 19 truck. If there's anybody that deserves a good ride for like how high quality of a driver he is, I mean, this is his shot. This 19 car, it was proven that it was championship caliber last year. Christian Eckes was amazing in this truck. So,
does he keep the Napa sponsor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his, if I'm not mistaken, I think his truck scheme's like blue and gold Napa.
I was wondering if he kept Poppy Bank or if he got the Napa scheme that Christian had.
I think it might be a little bit of both. I could be wrong, but I think his primary sponsor is like Napa Gold filters or something this week, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it says Napa Auto Care, but a lot of times Napa does like to switch up which product they're pushing or something like that. Help me remember, because 2 years ago, Daniel Hemrick was it 2 years ago, maybe 3? He was holding off Cindric to win the, so I guess 3 years ago, if it was then, he was, there's the paint scheme. If you're watching us, Austin just showed it on the screen. Help me remember, he wins the Xfinity Championship, and I don't know, I don't keep up with the lower 2 series quite as much. Where's he been the past 2 seasons? Because you're talking about him being in championship caliber equipment, which obviously is a big deal for him because it's not something he's had a ton of in his career. But obviously he has had championship caliber equipment in the past, but it just seems like he's not getting the shots on a regular basis that maybe he deserves.
Hemrick was, where was he?
I know he's part of Colleague at one point. So.
Yeah, he was with Colleague Cup last year. But that's
right.
Also like,
it's very wishy-washy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a championship team. I mean, it's...
No, not at all.
And honestly, the only reason they're a race-winning team is because of the 2 road course ringers they had. Outside of that, Colleague struggled last year. Yeah, I mean, he hadn't had a lot of great shots, I don't think, but this is going to be his best, in my opinion, in the top 3 series, with the exception of him being at Gibbs that year. He won the championship.
So the best shot, in my opinion, the best shot he ever got in Cup was in that 8 car with RCR. When do what does Hemrick have to do this year? Because I feel like just, kind of watching his career unfold, he's just not getting shots. Do you think he needs to bring more money to the table for a big team to sign him? Like, what will it take for like that, call from Hendrick Motorsports or, Joe Gibbs Racing or Penske? What does it take to get that kind of a phone call?
I think he's got to win races on a more consistent basis, because even though not to take away from a championship that he had at Gibbs that year with the 18 Poppy Bank car, I mean, obviously the consistency got him through, but he's won 1 race in the top 3 series.
That was his first career win.
Right. It was his first career win, which just happened to be the championship win,
race,
right?
Yeah.
And nothing to take away from that. He earned it. But that's also been going on 3-4 years ago, too. So I think he's got to win at least 2 to 3 races in this truck this year.
And the field is, if there's a year where he can get it done, it's this year. Because this truck field is a lot of young talent, a lot of unproven talent, but a lot of your seasoned veterans. I mean, of course, you have Ty, you have Ben, you have those guys. But, I mean, aside from that, I mean, you got Raja.
Lane Riggs.
But even he's still improving.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I think there's a lot of, if this is the year for him to get 2 to 3 wins, I mean, you got to beat Heim, but if you can outrace Corey Heim, then you have a shot.
Yeah.
And don't rule out my man Frankie Muniz over here. I mean, he's gonna be a contender.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's who I had written down next. So, Kent, tell me all about him. Who is this guy? I've never heard of him.
Dude, so with Frankie, I remember the first time they announced that he was going to race. I'm like, this guy looks familiar. And so if you've ever watched Malcolm in the Middle, you know him. And so yeah, Frankie is an actor turned NASCAR driver. So here's my take on him, and my take's probably going to be different than y'all's take. So obviously y'all give y'all's. I saw him race a couple years ago in the ARCA series at Talladega, and my takeaway actually after that race, he assumed the points lead briefly. I don't know if y'all remember that, but the ones who had been winning the races were not finishing consistently. And so he just by finishing sixth here, ninth here, third here, he was just racking up points. And now he didn't hold on to the championship. That was early in the season. But my impression of Frankie Muniz is that he knows how big of a deal this is. He's not just some actor who came over into the series and is like, I'm just going to try to come over here, make as much money as I can, put on a show. I'm here for the entertainment value and I'm getting out. He takes racing seriously. And because he takes racing seriously, he's been getting some shots. I'm not saying that he's got a shot with the best team or in the garage or anything like that. But if he goes out here and has a season where he does what I think he's really good at, which is staying out of trouble, keeping it clean, bringing the vehicle home in one piece, don't be shocked if he makes the playoffs. Don't be shocked. Does he get out of the first round? I don't know. I'm just saying don't be shocked if he makes the playoffs, because he's not gonna be in the top 10 every weekend. He's not gonna be in the top 5 every weekend. He's not even gonna be. I don't think he's gonna win a race this season. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think at the end of the season you're gonna say, man, consistency matters, and those 12th place finishes, those 13th place finishes that he just kept racking up without DNS, that sort of thing. I think he's going to be stacking nickels, not pennies. Pennies don't get you anywhere. Pennies don't get you anywhere. He's going to be stacking nickels.
It's all about improving on your starting position. If you're starting P20, P13 is pretty good. So it's just, can he consistently improve on his qualifying position and stay out of trouble?
That's the biggest thing in the truck series. I love the truck series, but
brutal. It's brutal.
It is brutal. I mean, no respect.
What I mean, if you love wrecks and like aggressive driving, that's the series for you. Like 100%. I remember the Martinsville truck race that we went to last year. I was like, man, this was brutal watching these guys beat and bang on each other the whole entire race.
Dude, the Talladega race we went to took forever to get through the last 15 laps. I mean, me and Cole were standing in victory lane, and we just see people sliding through the infield every restart. Like, insane.
Yeah, we're like, that was a really cool experience being in the infield watching that race right behind the pit box. That was pretty cool. Brett Moffitt ended up winning that race, which was really cool because he's one of those guys that deserves to win. Like, he's put the years in, the hard work, and the underfunded teams, and it's always good to see him get a good ride, which I think he's driving the number 4 this year.
Which team?
I don't know. I've seen it. Please do. Please fact check me.
I hope he has a full-time ride this year, because he's a truck champion, but he just doesn't bring much funding to the table, and he doesn't get full-time rides.
I don't see his name on the entry list for the truck series. Are y'all looking at a different series, Xfinity?
So I was looking at the truck roster on the NASCAR website, and it showed either it was the Xfinity series or it was the truck series, one of the two. And I don't know if it's just a duplicate from like a year before or something where it comes up, because NASCAR is really predominantly bad at actually updating their websites and stuff. So, which is funny because they're like, that is what they're known for. You would think that, you would update your website being a prestigious organization, but sometimes they just overlook things. But while y'all guys look at that, I will mention
he's part-time in the 4.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Chandler Smith's going to be in the 38 in the truck series this year. Very interesting to me. I feel like he has a lot of potential. He really does. It's just,
and I think he'll help Lane Riggs improve too, because I'm a big Lane Riggs fan in the truck series, but having a veteran who's been in, let's see, Chandler's racing Cup and Xfinity and trucks. So having a guy like Chandler Smith to come alongside him, I think front row is going to be a force to be reckoned with this year in the Truck Series, especially on the short tracks.
For sure. And then we got Tony
Breidinger.
Number 5. I mean, it'll be interesting. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know.
Her stint in ARCA was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I haven't followed her career that much. I really don't.
From what I've seen, she seems to be pretty consistent over ARCA. It seemed consistent. It wouldn't surprise me to see her finish top 20 in the trucks. I don't think it'll be playoff caliber. I could be wrong. I think it'd be great for the sport if a female did really, really well in it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a top 20 points run this year. And her sponsor, Raising Cane's Chicken, it's more of an out west thing, but that is some good chicken. If any of y'all are ever out west, like, I love.
We've got one here in Athens, and
really?
We do.
They're
it's
very
right
southern.
it's right close to campus there at UGA.
Okay,
and I'm gonna shoot straight. Hot take: why would you drive past Zaxby's on your way to Cane's? I don't know. Now, Cane's has some great chicken tenders.
Right.
You know what else they have? Nothing. Anyways,
That,
you
dude,
got good food, but it ain't. I don't know. I ain't going to fight the UGA student crowd for it.
I literally, I worked there. Haynes is so much better.
In the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, for sure. Austin, do you have this layout with you real quick?
Yes.
I need to jump off camera for a minute. So could you just take away with Norm Benning and let you guys discuss it real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'll be right back.
A couple other drivers we have that are kind of switching, getting new spots in the Truck Series. We have Norm Benning driving in the number 6. I'm not sure. I think the number 6 team is a part-time team. I'm pretty sure.
He's been part-time for a while.
Yeah.
And he's kind of up in age, too.
His first race will be at Milwaukee. Michael McDowell is going to be running the 07 car for Spire Racing. Spire has a couple of drivers that'll be racing for them this year. Also, Justin Haley will be taking the number 7 without the 0 in front of it. Michael McDowell will be running at Daytona, and Justin Haley also is racing at Daytona this year for the Truck Series. So that'll be, how do you guys think they'll do in that?
It's really going to depend on the wrecks, but if they can stay out of trouble, I mean, I think you're looking at 2 real potential winners right there.
I mean, you're talking both of them have won Cup races at Daytona.
Yeah.
Now Justin Haley's we can get into about how much skill that took. But
it took smarts on the crew chief's part, that's for sure.
That's it did, and it there was some gambling that paid off. For those of you who didn't watch that race, it was the 2019 summer race at Daytona. Storm was coming in like it does every year, and they brought some cars down pit road last minute because NASCAR said we're going green next lap. They left Justin Haley out on the track anyways, and there was some thunder that hit while they were going down the back straightaway, so they brought him in, so it worked out.
Cole and I were actually there for that race, and
no way.
Yeah. We were sitting actually down low right off turn 4, and just a monsoon had come the night before, and then the race happens that day after, like you said, and it was. I don't know if I was more happy that they had just called the race after the rain delay postponed it, then the lightning and the thunder came, and then 2.5 hours later they called it. I don't know if I was just so happy for Justin Haley, or if I was just happy to get out of there. But I remember leaving the track stoked for him.
Yep.
I was too. I actually toured to Daytona. I gotta see if I can still find this. I toured Daytona later that summer. It was like the week after that, and they took us into the press room where they do the post-race interviews with drivers and stuff like that. And on my way out, I found like a media guide sheet with the results still on it from that race, and I snagged it, and I have no clue what I did with that, but I was like, this is pretty cool. Maybe Justin Haley's going to rattle off 7 championships or something and be a NASCAR legend. And now I'm thinking, well, it's still a cool piece of paper if I find it.
Yeah, and just wanted to clarify, the number 7 will be split. Haley will drive the number 7 Spire at Daytona, And then Corey Day will take the number 7 for 8 races with Spire starting at Las Vegas. And then the last one that we have is the number 1, the Tricon Garage Toyota. That car, or that truck, I should say, is going to be split 4 ways between Lawless Allen, Brandon Jones, Brent Cruz, and the newest addition, William Sawalich. So that's an interesting addition.
I'm excited to see how Brent Cruz does in there. That's another Cars Tour guy. I'm not really too big personally on all the other drivers that are going in, but Brent Cruz, he's one of the local grassroots racing kind of guy, and so I love to see any guys like that be able to get a good shot, like how Butterbean did last year at Wilkesboro on that truck. You love to see the grassroots get some spotlight.
Absolutely. And we were talking about Tony Breidinger earlier, how Canes is one of her sponsors. She's also carrying over her Celsius sponsorship as well from ARCA. So she'll have we talked about it in our group chat, Monster Energy money. She'll have the Celsius, the Celsius money there.
Hey, I'll vouch for Celsius. That's some good stuff. I was getting a Celsius the other day at a gas station, and a Coca-Cola guy, which they own Monster Energy, he was walking by me on my way out, and he looked at me. He goes, "Put that back, get a Monster Energy." I was like, man.
But interesting additions this year to the Truck Series. The Rookie of the Year candidates for 2025 will be Tony Breidinger, Frankie Muniz, Connor Mosack in the 81. Those are just some of the names that will be included for the Rookie of the Year potential. So that kind of encapsulates the changes to Xfinity and to Truck for the 2025 season. So we want to kind of this bonus episode leading up to Daytona, we kind of wanted to explain kind of a guide for new fans, explaining the different series. Cup is the highest level. It's gone through many names for the longest period of time. It was the Winston Cup Series, and then NASCAR didn't want to associate itself with cancer sticks anymore. So
I think there was actually a law that got passed that prohibited them from not sponsoring.
Yep, no cancer sticks anymore. And so it changed from Winston Cup to the Sprint Cup. And that change happened, I believe, in 04, I want to say, is when it switched. From Winston.
04 was the first year of the Nextel Cup Series, which was bought out by Sprint in 2008. So if you look in the 2004 Daytona 500, I believe, it looks like every driver has rookie stripes on the back of their car. And they're these yellow rookie stripe looking stickers that just say "Welcome Nextel." Yep. And so it was a Nextel Cup from 04 to 07, and then Sprint bought them out in 08 and took it from there.
Yep, and then it went to the Monster Cup Series. I think in around after 2012, I think is when it switched, somewhere in there.
17.
2017.
2017.
Yeah, it's when Monster took over the title sponsorship.
And now there is no sponsor. It is just the NASCAR Cup Series, and that's what it's been called. Xfinity, this is the next level right underneath. Usually when drivers make the jump to the Cup Series, this is where they're coming from. This was known as the Busch Series back in the early 2000s. It was known as a Nationwide Series, and now it is the Xfinity Series. If you want to think of it in ball and stick and ball terms, it's the AAA of NASCAR. AAA being right before the majors. It's the next step. That is what Xfinity is viewed as. And then there is Truck. This is a series that focuses on a talent level. Oftentimes, this is where your young guns are. It's kind of cutthroat at times. I'm telling you, some of these races in the Truck Series, they're diabolical, man. Like they give no frick.
To get an idea, though, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, at the age of 16, you can race in the Truck Series on tracks less than a mile in length. Is that still the case?
Yep, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I know that Kyle Busch was talking about like his plan to get Brexton in NASCAR, and that's like as soon as he reaches 16, he's going to be driving all the non-super speedway races, and Kyle will essentially drive the super speedway races till he came up to age to be able to do that. So
I'm not gonna lie, I cannot wait to watch Kyle Busch race against Brexton Busch. That's gonna be awesome.
I've seen their interactions at the dirt tracks, and it cracks me up. Like, you can definitely, ain't denying who that kid belongs to.
That's right.
But yeah, Truck Series is if you want to view it again in stick and ball, it's like AA. And then one that's also worth considering is ARCA. It's more like travel ball.
Or single A, maybe.
Single A, collegiate.
Rookie ball.
Yeah, it's I'm telling you, turn on the ARCA race during Daytona. Just turn it on. Just experience what an ARCA race is. These dudes do not know how to draft, but it is entertaining in some ways. But those are the main series that are televised. Obviously, you can catch the truck race. You can catch on FS1. Usually, ARCA is on FS1 as well. Xfinity will be on CW the entire year, which is weird. And then NASCAR is split across 4 networks this year with Fox, Prime, NBC, and TNT. So it's
Why don't they just make a streaming service at this point?
Honestly,
they really should.
I think the only reason that they don't is because they need the publicity of being on these big networks for the most part.
Do they? I mean,
yes, absolutely. Because I think that the fan base that they have, it's big enough to sustain, but it wouldn't grow as much if it wasn't on these big networks, in my opinion.
I guess, no, you got a point. I guess what I was more coming on, like, I guess they probably should get off more of like the Fox Sports ones and the USAs and just go on big Fox, stay on big NBC instead of going to all these other cable channels.
Yeah.
Or streaming services that you have to pay for. Like, we have, like, if you have to pay for Prime to watch the Coke 600 this year, that just doesn't feel right. Like,
it feels un-American. It really does.
It really does.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Although I bet if they wanted to get a streaming service that goes for all 36, 38 races, I bet they could find some good sponsors to help advertise for it because especially if you're out and about and you want to watch it live, it's kind of tough on some of your Fox and some of your NBC. But if you do have that streaming, it does help. So maybe it could help the viewership out in that way. But it'd just be something for them to consider.
I know I wasn't here when you guys mentioned this, but did you guys discuss that Xfinity is not going to be the title partner after this year?
Oh, no, I did not mention that.
That's just I know that's complicated for people that's new, but essentially, I mean, this has always happened, even with the Cup level. I mean, there's been numerous different name, title, sponsors. Xfinity's actually given that name up next year to some other organization. It could be Cookout. I mean, that's just a name I would throw out there, especially as involved as they've been in the sport. I could see that.
Or who knows? Busch might make a comeback. Busch beer.
I mean, it's possible. But I thought I'd mention that. I didn't want to take away from what you said, but I was thinking about that when I was away. I was like, I wonder if they mentioned that or not.
The good part is they'll still keep a little bit of their sponsorship going with the Cup Series. So that I'm glad that because Xfinity's been one of them partners that have really, I think it's really helped brand the Xfinity Series well. So I hate to see it go away from that specifically, but I'm glad they're also helping out with a lot of Cup sponsorships going forward too.
And then you got the Xfinity Fastest Lap that they're going to be doing. I mean, great partner, but I would definitely not miss having to hear after every single Xfinity race when I do the interviews.
Yeah, that car was as fast as Xfinity Internet.
Like, please, just stop. I get it. It's great branding and everything, but for every driver to have to say it during interviews was just horrendous to me. So, alrighty. Well, I'm back, by the way, if you can't tell. I was gone for a minute, but I'm back. So, I appreciate Austin holding the fort down as my voice cracks. So, next we're going to talk about the different styles of tracks. There's essentially 4 different tracks that are on the NASCAR schedule, generic track names. So the first one is your super speedways. So your Daytona, your Talladega, your Atlanta technically now. These are humongous banking. And essentially banking is like the incline that a track is on. Some tracks are flat and some have incline banking. The super speedways are about the most intense banking that you'll see. If you ever get to visit Talladega or Daytona and you get to stand on the track and you're able to stand even like where the
Where the
not
tri-oval's at, it's pretty steep.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Even where there is predominantly flat, you can still see it. But like when you look into turn one, you can just see you're essentially on an incline. So like for instance, like I have these car things that I keep my diecast on. This is essentially like the banking that these guys are on the super speedways. It's very brutal.
I believe
the-
Daytona's 36 degrees.
So
I think it's 31. I think Dega is 33 and Atlanta is 29.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the specific numbers on that, but it's pretty steep.
So these tracks are known for humongous wrecks. The big one that we discussed, mainly Austin last week, really good discussion about that. Draft racing. So drafting, you may ask, what's drafting? Well, it's very much an aerodynamic thing where essentially on super speedways, they are running pretty much tail to tail and they're pushing each other. They're essentially drafting where they can get the most speed through the air as possible. There's also a thing called side drafting. When two cars get really close together, they're able to essentially draft off each other where one could get a better run. Some would say it's taking the air off the car. It's very much racing you think is very simple. It's go faster than the other person, reach the checker flag before the other person does. But there's a lot more that goes into it, especially with NASCAR and drafting and aerodynamic packages and whatnot. It's a lot to consider.
Well, especially when... Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, so like, the concept, of course, like drafting up behind somebody is they're punching a hole in the wind. They are the lead blocker. Your car has much less, resistance against it, and so you're able to gain more, RPM and run down the car in front of you because your car is not facing the same resistance. That side drafting, you're dumping air onto the spoiler of the car beside you and you're slowing them down. So it's funny, like, to get an understanding of it. There's one where you're speeding up. There's one where you're just slowing the other car down and you're pulling them back. If you really want to see some really intense side drafting, watch the package that NASCAR raced in 2019. You'll see a ton of it. But it is still very much prevalent today.
And I was going to say, too, with the draft, it's like a huge, especially if you get about 10 plus cars in a draft, it's like this inertia to where they can be going 2/5 throttle in the draft, and they'll still go faster than if one car is out of the draft going full throttle. These 10 plus cars will still be going lightning fast past them because of how big that inertia is that the draft offers.
Something else you'll see plays a factor every year at Talladega and Daytona is if you're at the front of the pack for a long time, you're having to use more gas because your foot is on the throttle. It's all the way down.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you're back in the pack, you're going half throttle, 3/4 throttle. You're able to save more fuel. It may, add up or if that of fuel, but I mean if you're running a green light checkered, that's a stop you don't have to make. You can stay out front and keep track position. So it plays a factor.
Well, especially if they're doing green flag stops, the least amount of time you spend on pit road putting gas in the car. That means you can leapfrog, even if it's by 2/10, you can leapfrog probably 5 cars and be able to get out front like that. I hope, and just because we're talking about it, I hope NASCAR will do something different with this super speedway package. I don't know if it's you get rid of the cautions at the stage breaks or what, but anything that can prevent them from saving fuel and riding around until 20 to go to start racing. I would love to see that as a fan. This is a podcast by the fans, for the fans. Just as a fan, I would love to see that go away.
And I know some drivers are very much against those. For instance, I know Hamlin on his podcast today was talking about how much he hated the no cautions during the road course races for stages. He said he absolutely hated it.
Well,
he said it's a bad idea.
Well, it was a horrible idea, but that's because the package was bad. But when you take a look at last year's Daytona's fall race, the stage was kind of manipulated to where fuel savings wasn't a thing. and it was by far the best super speedway package stage that this car has seen. And I think, I don't know what the answer is. I mean,
I kind of
yeah, go ahead.
I kind of like the fuel saving game though. I know it's not a great component of racing, but it gets to the really like the brain intellectual. It brings the people who are like your crew chiefs and stuff. It brings the best out. Like majority of that's why Joey Logano won Nashville. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
Joey Logano won the championship. It's these strategy calls. Like you can't disregard that as a part of the sport. So I get what you're saying as like a fan just wants to watch really cool racing going hard all the time. I get it.
Yeah.
But there's a whole different side to the sport that you would miss out on if you didn't get to that.
I personally don't mind it, if I'm being honest, because no one wants to see their driver taken out on lap 30 because of a wreck or being too aggressive. It's appropriate that your bigger cautions are happening towards the end because that's when you're going to make the moves, right? I mean, it's a 200 lap race at Daytona. You know, you don't want to wreck yourself and half the field by lap 30. And I think there's a benefit to I mean, and I mean, they don't race completely conservative, but I mean, you see it in every. I mean, even before when we were in the old gen of cars, like back in the early 2000s, they would train race for 50, 75 laps just to knock those laps off and then get to the end.
That's true. And as much as I love the 2021 Daytona 500, to y'all's credit, when that big butt wreck happened lap 15, I think it caused a lot of guys to be conservative and do that train racing. I don't know. I like, to this new car's credit, you do see a lot of 4-wide, 3-wide racing. I think a lot more than you did in your old car.
You were there for Dega. You saw they were 3 wide for 80% of the race.
Yeah. I guess here's my problem. Like, I love seeing that as a fan, but I'm also, there's a part of it where it's like, well, that's because the bottom 2 lines are just saving fuel. So that's why the third line's able to keep going. So, it's kind of like, I don't know, a part of me feels fake, but I also love seeing it. I don't know. It's a tough balance because, like, especially like this past fall at Talladega, like, there's no denying seeing the 4 wide for like 6 rows back that was awesome. But it all goes back to I don't know. To me, it feels just kind of wonky. Doesn't feel legit and genuine.
Can't, you're muted, buddy.
Spacebar quit working.
There you go.
I'd like to see those cars that those 5, 6, 7 best handling cars pull away from the rest of the field. I'd like to be able to see that and to see them break up into the different packs that you used to have back in the day. That kind of, to your point, Blake, I feel like it feels fake. I don't think that the 36th best car should be able to hang on to the same pack that the leader is. I don't think. I think you've got to, if you're telling me that who's in the 34 this year? Y'all help me out. Who's driving McDowell's old ride?
Ty Gillen.
Yeah.
All right, so Gilliland, he's gonna win the pole. All right, y'all heard it here first. Anyways, but no, let's say that 34 car. Let's say like a Penske car. Let's say the 22 Logano. They're always fast in speed weeks at Daytona. So let's say you've got these cars, right? You've got the Hendrick Motorsports cars. They always bring hot rods to Daytona. I think that part of the reward for being good and being fast and having the best people on your team building these cars and producing them should be that, hey, you know what? After about 15 laps, our handling is going to be so much better that we're going to be able to begin to distance ourselves from these cars that we have no business being around to begin with. Because you're talking about one little, oh man, I didn't get back in line fast enough. Well, that's great. You just went from third to third. I don't know. I want to see handling pay off more. And it, like we've said in previous episodes, it's getting back to that at Daytona. I feel like it is at Talladega too. It really messed up and they just paved those tracks way too good. I mean, it was just, it was like slot cars, going around there for a while. But now maybe handling is going to be more of an issue. But then if you're not getting more than a, 40 something lap green flag run. And so that's why I say, look, run the stages at Daytona. That's fine. But give them points and don't throw the caution. You provide the emphasis. There's still that urgency. Oh, I gotta give it my best every single moment of this race. So that way I can position myself to get the most points at the end of the day. And then you're saying, all right, I want to be around at the end. But then you see more strategy play out. You see more green flag pit stops on these super speedway races. They're so much fun to see the different manufacturers come in, to see who goes and pits with who, and then who's going to have the head of steam, right? Like, is it going to be, gets back off pit road and it looks like, man, all right, this group of 11 cars, they seem to have it down. Oh, wait, no, here comes the group behind them. They're running them down. And then they fly by them. And then you get your 2 wide, your 3 wide, 4 wide racing again. I don't know. That's kind of what I would like to see out of Daytona again.
The only thing, I guess, here's my biggest beef with it is it takes, because of the way that the aerodynamics work, it takes probably 8 to 10 cars just to get a third line going if everybody's going full throttle. And in the older, or in some of the previous cars, it didn't take 8 to 10 cars. It only took 3 or 4 to get something going. Then people wanted to join in on it, and that you had a lot of your, a lot of your coming and your going, and it's almost like inverting the field almost with how it was. So I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't hate this new aerodynamic package, but I don't love it. I feel like it could be a lot better when it comes to like pure quality racing.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good argument, and that might be an argument that we talk about, continuing on. I've kind of got a little off track of what we were trying to do, but I mean, it's good things to talk about.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially also, I mean, if you've not watched NASCAR, you may not know what's a stage. Like, what are you guys talking about? So essentially a stage is something that NASCAR has set up. Usually it's in equal increments. The first 2 stages are equal increments, and then the last stage is a little bit longer laps. And they essentially throw a caution flag after this lap, and the stage rewards certain amount of points based on where you finish. And NASCAR usually, in their broadcasts and stuff, they usually explain that really well, especially for newcomers to the sport. But just know that those stages are for points, essentially. You got 3 different stages, and 3 different drivers can win these stages. So there's a lot more different strategies and stuff that go into it.
Unless it's the Coke 600 that it's for.
Yeah. Or, 1 if it rains out, like it always does.
Like the Coke 373 last year.
That's why I'm not going next to the Coke 600 this year.
Oh, come on. Come with us.
Well, at least he's buying our tickets for us. I mean, you see,
my name's Alston, not Austin anymore.
But also, super speedways are also known for their high speed. So this is the fastest that these cars are going to go. When you're on a shorter track, I mean, you ain't going to be able to go 200 miles per hour to the corner. It's just not going to happen.
What's your Ross Chastain?
Or Christopher Bell riding the wall, Martinsville. But next we have intermediate speedways. Dogs are going ballistic. So these are 1 to 2 mile racetracks, and they're often with moderate banking, so not as steep as like a Talladega, but they do have some banking to them. A lot of them do. Sometimes, there's certain spots that don't have any banking. There is some drafting that can occur at these racetracks, but it doesn't play nearly as much of a factor. Drafting always is in consideration with these cars, especially the way that they're built now, but it's not as big of a deal. And also, essentially, your main goal as a driver in intermediate tracks is to find that best groove that day for that car. And that's changed throughout the years to different generations of cars. So, what used to be the groove back in 2015 is not the groove in 2025. So it's always evolving. And that's always something that's really fun with intermediate tracks. I guess tracks like Michigan, for instance, No.
Yeah, I would say Michigan's. It's on the higher end of the intermediate track, but I consider it an intermediate track.
But, I mean, I wouldn't consider it a super speedway.
No,
so, I mean,
Not anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, tracks like that, just
Indy is
very much so.
It's not a mile and a halfer, but you definitely don't run it like a super speedway.
Sometimes it just comes down to classification of how you drive the track, more or less, than the mileage itself. Just most of the time, super speedways are known for that 2+ miles. That's how most people would know it. But everything else, I mean, like short tracks, we'll get to those now. I mean, when you walk to a short track and you look at it, you know it's a short track because it looks like a short track.
Because it's short.
Very short. It lives up to the name. Most time it's less than 1 mile. There's close to no banking at all. Sometimes there's just a little bit, but majority of the time, like at Bowman Gray, there is basically nothing. Zero. Silk.
Bristol is the exception to the rule.
Yep. Which Bristol banking is really cool in my opinion. It adds a very cool aspect to the track.
Maybe that's where I was thinking the 36-degree banking at, because that is, I know Bristol's steep.
It might be. And that is like, if you are like an old school, like love tracks, those short tracks are 24 to 30. Is that what that says? Okay. Bristol's known for that bumping and banging, the old school, like like you like dirt tracks, you would love short track racing. I mean, it's basically the same thing. Now, you ain't throwing it in like dirt track cars are trying to get traction and stuff, but I mean, I don't know. I just love short track racing. I really do. I feel like that's what the sport revolves around for a lot of the time. These super speedway races are really cool and all, but to see these cars just going after it, old school, I mean, I feel like that's where most of your, as Austin would call it, the boomer audience, that's where their main clientele, where they showcase the best stuff.
I didn't mean to wreck him. I just meant to rattle his cage a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, high tire wear, braking failures, a lot of times you see them rotors glowing. That's always a cool thing to see. Just some like red rotors just glowing as them tires are rolling around the track. I mean, and then of course you got the tempers flaring, man. You don't see fights at, super speedways very often.
Watching old Recky piece up Kyle Busch.
And
Jeff Gordon, was it Jeff Burton? Got into a fight at a short track.
I think their fight was at Texas.
That was,
yeah. No, was it
yeah,
Texas?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. On the back stretch there.
Now, Gordon did move Rusty Wallace out of his way twice to win races at Bristol, the old bump and run.
So is Jeff Gordon like the Joey Logano of today? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I hear, Kent?
No comment.
I would make that comparison.
I'm sure you would.
I want to change this topic.
Let Joey Logano win 50 more races and another championship, and we'll talk.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
He probably will.
That's personality. Personality.
Yep. So
now Joey Logano has a way better personality than Jeff Gordon. Let's be honest.
True.
That's true.
You're right. Road course races would be the fourth, and these are like the most anomaly tracks. Like when you look at them, if it doesn't look like a circle, it's probably a road course race. I mean, there's multiple different turns. They're the most unique tracks, and I used to hate them. Like when I used to play NASCAR Heat, and they'd be like going through the season or whatever, I get to a road course race, like, well, frick, man. Like, I won't finish 30, but watching them here in the last few years, I've really grown like a really deep appreciation. I know a lot of people don't, especially Austin Morse, but I don't know. It's just something about the calculation.
Let me explain why I don't like watching that. So I enjoy watching NASCAR at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. And I know those are the OG tracks. For those of you who may not know, back in the day, those were the only road courses on the NASCAR calendar. And I enjoy watching them because everybody knows them. All the NASCAR drivers know them, and it's good fun. But I'm also an F1 fan as well. I enjoy watching F1, and I'm the only one in this group that enjoys watching F1. But it's something I enjoy. And so when you take Circuit of the Americas, for instance, which is a Formula One track as well as a place for NASCAR visits, it is painful for me to watch these bulky stock cars go through the S's at COTA when I'm used to seeing the downforce that F1 has just weave right through it like it's nothing. But that's the reason. It's just I'm accustomed to Formula One downforce on road courses, and NASCAR just doesn't have that. And it's nothing against NASCAR. It's just I don't find it as exciting as some others may.
I think they've done a good job with the road courses in regards to the way that they shake up the schedule. Because growing up, it was one of the most boring times was when the schedule came out because it used to be the same thing over and over again. But now, because they've added new road courses like the Roval, COTA, Chicago Street Course, you've got a lot more, I guess a word for it might be like spice to the schedule. And
Mexico.
Yeah, you got Mexico this year. I'm mad they took a Richmond race away for it. That's another story for another day, but that's just me.
You just don't want to see Austin Dillon wreck Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano for the third time.
Hey, and also, too, Richmond's one of those great tracks for just your hardcore fan to go to for fairly cheap. Like I said, another story for another day, but you got Mexico. I'm sure you'll probably be seeing stuff in Canada in the coming years, and who knows, Middle East, wherever they end up going, but we'll see. But
you heard it here first. NASCAR in Dubai 2027.
From what I've heard, it seems like that's a real thing.
We're going to go to Ecuador.
Way.
We've already planned this. We have started the Ecuadorian movement to NASCAR.
The South Americans are going to love us.
We're going to be the ones that bring a NASCAR race to Ecuador.
Hey, they have, and we talked about Brazil. You have Interlagos down there where Formula One races. It's a short road course race. That'd be fun for NASCAR.
Absolutely.
Hey,
but
NASCAR, if we bring a road course to South America, they ought to give us free VIP passes because it started here.
That's right. We threw out the mention and fruition.
Hey, Brett, hook us up, pal.
Doesn't NASCAR have a series in Brazil?
I have no clue.
I know they have NASCAR Mexico, but I don't know about Brazil.
I think they do have one in Brazil. They've got a European series, too. I don't know if they've got a Middle Eastern series yet, but
we don't. I'm watching Kent. He's about to reveal something. What is it?
Brazil.
But I see you.
It says sprint race, though. I doubt, it must be sprint cars, I would imagine.
It's going to be cup cars for too long. You just watch.
Yeah, that's right. So,
anyway.
Also, I have a hard time recommending the Roval to anybody. I really do. Every time I go to the Roval race, I sit there, 80 laps in, I sit there and wonder what I've done with my money. I really do.
I love the Roval, personally.
I think it's the only reason that you love the Roval. It's the only road course close to you. If it was another road course that was relatively close, you would never consider the Roval to be as good as it is.
I don't know. The first 4 years of the Roval was fantastic racing. What ruined it was the next gen car, to be honest with you. But the new configuration this year, I think, helped it.
Teach their own. It was basically Larson leading majority of the race.
All right, hear me out. Hot take. It's kind of change the topic, but hot take: NASCAR goes to Monaco in 2028.
I like it. I love it.
Are we going, boys?
A
European getaway.
As long as Austin's paying for it, I'm all right with it.
That's what I'll say.
To the most expensive country in the world.
It's gonna depend on how our merch drop goes.
Yeah.
To the one person. Hey, we'll sell one shirt, but we'll charge $1,000 for the shirt.
Monaco, is that a country? Is that a city?
It is. It's a country.
It's
a
country.
It's tiny, very tiny country.
Where's it near?
Near France, Italy, in that area. I think it's on the coast of Italy.
Okay. Hey, why not?
Why not at this point?
And it's the richest city in the world.
Gotcha.
Because of that.
Sounds like NASCAR, boys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So people may ask, like, what is this stock car racing? That's part of what NASCAR is. So what is a stock car? So a stock car is essentially what you would imagine a stock car being. It's what you would ride on the road, stock car. So NASCAR through the years, man, when it started out, it was very much a stock car platform. But as the years evolved, they kind of got away from that with the different generations. And I kind of have a few different ones lined out, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but eventually, like Gen 4 is probably where I would say everything kind of took not a major turn, but compared to what it was before, there was a lot of differences and stuff. So Gen 4 is essentially from 1991 to 2006. That's a long time too. Like, if you really think about it, like in regards to like lifespan of a car, that's probably one of the longer generations that I can think of.
And that was the car that NASCAR had its peak in also.
Yeah. And these steel bodies, which cars are most of the time running back then, were replaced by fiberglass to reduce weight. So it was a big weight reduction. And wind tunnels, which are essentially like simulations of how wind affects the cars, right? So they had these, it's like a dyno essentially built to show how aerodynamics impact a car. So they like test these out in realistic situations to see how these cars are affected by the air. So this is when aerodynamics really became a staple into NASCAR. This is when it was really heavily considered compared to the past years. And really, these were more resembling what like show cars would be. So not really what you would see on the streets. And this is when you kind of seen like NASCAR get away from what we would call stock cars. But also it was some of the, arguably it was some of the best racing ever. 1991, 2006. I mean,
towards the end of this era, you've had Pontiac Grand Prix, you had Chevrolet Monte Carlos, you had Ford Taurus, which were the ugliest of cars of the group, then Dodge Chargers as well. So they were really the year like 2004 to 2006 or
the peak NASCAR looking cars for sure. And then you got the dreaded Gen 5, 2007, 2012. These were the cars of tomorrow. I mean, the COTs. There's one thing that could be said about the cars of tomorrow is they created the most safety enhancements for stock car racing ever. Like, the leaps and bounds that they did was amazing. But they look nothing like the street counterparts. Nothing. Like, you would not see these on the road. This looks like what you would see on Need for Speed, like with the spoilers and whatnot. So
it's worth noting that NASCAR made these designs. Just Google it if you haven't seen them. It was NASCAR's attempt to reach a, quote, younger audience by having a spoiler, a wing spoiler on the back. And then the biggest thing that I remember from that era was the splitter at the bottom. They had wires that went down.
Wires,
And if one of those things broke, your whole car was screwed.
Now, argue with me if I'm wrong, but that car was an eyesore.
Oh, it's terrible.
I liked it. I really liked it. I was stoked when they came out, and I loved it.
The later versions, like 2011, 2012, those looked okay.
Yeah, those were better.
When they first dropped, oh my gosh.
All right, well, we've just become three wide. We've all voted Ken off the island. He's no longer.
My opinion doesn't matter. I really
Travis
so I remember in going into the 2007 season, Sports Illustrated, back when they covered interesting things like NASCAR, put out an issue before the season started, and it was a breakdown of the new Car of Tomorrow vehicle. And I remember watching or just reading through it. I still have that issue somewhere in my parents' home, probably, and looking at it. And man, I got so excited. The wing looked so cool. Turns out, the wing, the way that it was positioned on the car, it glued you to that track. But when you went backwards, you flew like a bird. It was crazy. There were some crazy wrecks with that Car of Tomorrow. where cars got turned. Blowovers in the 80s and in the 90s were because cars got sideways and theirs got underneath them. Google Brad Keselowski Atlanta or Carl Edwards Talladega.
Yeah.
Some of these wrecks were just absolutely ridiculous. I think Ryan Newman even had one where he got turned around and flipped
Which
and landed
one?
on his. Bless his heart. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Poor guy.
Bless his heart. He had the tar knocked out of him on multiple occasions.
Well, it's very funny. Like, I say that it evolved the most safety net, but then you had this stuff like that's counterproductive to it. These cars are going in the air, flipping into the catch.
And you had Gordon's wreck at was it Vegas, where like the motor was almost knocked out of the car. He hit the wall so hard, the interior wall.
Yeah, the radiator completely came out of that thing.
But I feel like the braking wasn't fantastic either. Do y'all remember Jeff Gordon's wreck at Pocono in like 06, 07, sometime around there?
I wasn't avidly watching NASCAR back then, but like going back and watching those clips, I was like,
I was watching that race. That was one of those. They come back from a commercial break and they show your favorite driver in the wall, and you're like, well, dadgummit, I can turn this race off.
Did my driver die, or is he okay?
Yeah.
Well, you thought. No, that was a lick.
Not as bad as Elliott Sadler's, which NASCAR released a tape.
Well, I tell you,
NASCAR's been a little sus on that one. Sorry, we keep interrupting Blake. This is fun, guys. Let's keep it up.
No, you're good. I'm all for some NASCAR conspiracies for sure. So y'all are fine. But it would be, I guess, the closest wreck to think about what it was like was Bubba Wallace's at Pocono, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But obviously the cars were faster back in the day, so it's only elevated.
I mean, my mind goes to Ryan Priest's wreck too. I mean, not in the catch fence kind of deal, but like the brutality of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was rough.
Well, and I think no matter how safe you try to make the cars, right? I mean, there is a level of aspect of danger that you can't. I mean, you're going 180 with 36 other guys on the track. Like, there's always going to be danger. But that I think was the only good thing from the car of tomorrow. And I could be cynical, but I thought the car sucked.
Gen 6 would be next. That'd be 2013 to 2021. These were very bulky cars. They were faster and tougher as well, and they relied on the maximum aerodynamic grip. Aerodynamics was like peak at this point. I can't say really a lot about this car because it's not been that long. There's not a lot to sit there and like really think about analytically. I mean, it just stopped a couple years ago. And I miss it a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that car was almost perfect. Now, that's also when I really started getting into racing, so I might be a bit biased, but in 2013 and 2014, the racing was fantastic.
2014 was a phenomenal racing season.
You had the speed of the cars that kind of made you feel like you were back in 06 a little bit, but it was up to date. And the only problem was, and I know, Ken, I'm kind of stealing your thunder a little bit on this, but you were right in the group chat. Like, the only bad part about those years was they still had tons and tons of stands that were empty. And so it felt like it was off when the racing really wasn't. You had just come off an era where you had 150,000 seats at every single racetrack. So it seemed empty. And I think that was, I feel like the attendance overshadowed the Gen 6 car a lot and its performance.
I ain't gonna lie to you, when you mentioned the group chat, my heart sunk a little bit. I was like, you might have to start running.
No,
it's like, what's this man got to mention?
No, what happens in the group chat stays in the group chat. But, yeah, I just feel like, I feel like those were some great years of racing, but just a lot of the other stuff that NASCAR was involved in just got overshadowed.
I feel like if NASCAR was doing what they're doing now with the older car, like, man, where could we be right now?
Especially if you had this car on the intermediates back in that day, you'd have a perfect combination.
So, I'll just go ahead and move on. I mean, 2022 to what we are current day is what we consider the next gen car era. So this would be Gen 7. So this car features improved, for our people that are not watching the video, I put a little quotation mark with my hands, aero and downforce packages while introducing new technology on the track. Now, new technology is very obvious. I mean, anytime you're getting to 10, 15 years down the road, you're going to be adding new technology. But in addition, the next gen car was essentially designed to lower the cost of building these cars and attract new OEM. So OEM are like Chevrolet, Ford, Honda, other competitors to maybe try to throw in a bid into a series, maybe not at the Cup level, maybe at the Xfinity level. So like Honda, somebody like that, for instance, which would be great for the sport. And I feel like everybody at NASCAR that I've heard would be 100% for it. It adds a little extra spice, you know? It's been these three cars forever. Ever since Gen, what was it?
I think
5?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was like the last few years of Dodge that I can remember. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Austin. I seen your lips move.
Yeah, you're right. Dodge was the last one back in the Car of Tomorrow. I can't remember what year they left, but it was during the Car of Tomorrow.
Brad Keselowski won the championship with them as they were going out in 2012.
Yep.
I remember like Ray Abraham also was like one of the last few ones that I remember, like the 9 car when, yeah. So, but this next gen car, man, we've had some loves to it and we have some hate for it, but I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's not as bad as Gen 5 in my opinion, but it's also the closest to what stock cars are. These cars that they're putting on the track are really super duper close in regards to what you would get like engine wise. Of course, the body style's a little bit different because you can't have the sporty looking style to it.
They
thick cars. They go vroom vroom very thickly.
I think the biggest knocks that we have, I think all of us would agree, less horsepower than previous cars. There's not a lot of parity. All the cars, like we talked about with the 500, all the cars from first to 36, there's a second gap for a good chunk of the race. And it's killed short track racing for the most part. But the benefits that I think we've all seen is it has saved the mile and a halves. The mile and a half racing has been absolutely phenomenal. And
who would have ever thought Charlotte would have been a sellout anymore?
It's amazing.
It's great.
I think other plus sides to it, and we see a lot more winners than a different variety of winners. Like there was one year we had 16, 17, 18 different winners in a single season. I think almost breaking a record unless it did break a record. But it's not perfect. But to say it's all been bad, it hasn't. NASCAR has been very proactive in addressing the safety issues. Because the first year of the car, we had 2 drivers out that year with concussion from hard hits. I think one of the differences between this car and the last 3 gens, I'll say, is when these cars hit the wall, it could hit hard as heck, and that thing still looks like it could drive away.
Yeah.
But you look at these races from 04, 06, 08, 09, cars are destroyed when they hit the wall because the car is absorbing the energy and it's distributing it out. And so the car is shredded to pieces. These cars are so stiff. They're so rigid now that it looks like like the hit that Hamlin took at Charlotte a couple years ago when Chase wrecked him into the wall. Hamlin said he could hardly keep his head up because of how much his neck hurt from absorbing that hit. So it's not perfect. Do we have our qualms about it? Yeah, but overall, the racing product has been decent.
I will say even with the short tracks, though, I mean, they've started to really improve the racing in the last probably 3 to 4 short tracks with the tire, and getting the right tire for the short track has been super helpful. So maybe we'll see a resurgence of the short tracks this year.
I mean, it's very possible. like 100%. But that's just kind of our essential small guide for the fan. And of course, we'll always be, trying to explain things to the best of our ability for newer people getting into the sport, because it's not a very easy sport to just jump in and know everything. And I feel like NASCAR does a decent job with like introducing fans to the sport, especially if you go to a racetrack and you go to like the fan experience stage. Most of the time, they explain stuff super well, like for people at different levels, and it's entertaining and whatnot. They do a really good job with it. I feel like NASCAR does an okay job on the broadcast side. I think it's more of a NBC thing than a Fox thing. I feel like Fox has a harder time explaining for like the new fans compared to the older fans. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our spicy text for Daytona. You've had a week to stew on these, so I hope you guys have thought of some decent ones. So I'm gonna let Kent start because he's hardly ever spoke today, which is a rarity. So
It is a rarity, and I was really hoping that you weren't going to call on me first.
He didn't think of one. You didn't think of one, did you?
I mean, I always have a hot takes. You know what? Let's. I was trying to figure out. It wasn't whether or not I had one. It was whether or not I really had the guts to go with it. But you know what? I'm gonna roll with it. So I'm looking at the entry list for the Daytona 500, and so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna follow this up when we pick for the Daytona 500. So you're about to see how much I actually believe in this hot take, but I will shoot for it. An open car is gonna win the Daytona 500, and I'm gonna tell you.
Gosh, dang.
Well, there's so many open cars in the field. I feel like if there was a year that is gonna happen, I feel like it could be this year. There could be up to 5, right?
Yes.
And so I won't call my shot. Now, keep in mind, I'm calling my shot. This is Tuesday. The first open cars aren't going to be locked in to the Daytona 500. There will be 2 locked in tomorrow night during qualifying on speed. So I still don't even know who's going to be locked in. Man, this is going to be tough. Y'all, I will say the man finally gets it done.
Are you going with Corey LaJoy?
No. I will say a man who's a champion but has never won a super speedway race and is looking to go out on a big note. Martin Truex Jr.
Yes, sir.
I will say he's around at the end and finds a way to get it done. I think that would be really cool.
I have a really spicy take, just so y'all know.
Ironically, I'm wearing the hat that Blake got me when Martin Truex won the championship with Furniture Row on my head right now. So it's kind of funny that you pictured that. All right, Austin. Well, we're gonna leave you for last then. If you're gonna be spicy. All right, Blake.
Don't like you.
Yes, you do. You love me.
All right, spicy take for Daytona.
Remember, this could be for any series. You don't have to do Cup if you don't want to.
Okay.
I feel like you are. So.
This could be for any series.
Well, I did write on the thing. It says spicy take at Daytona, not Daytona 500.
Okay. I'll say Elio, however you pronounce it, will win the ARCA race on Saturday.
We covered ARCA.
That's my spicy take.
Why do you think that?
Well,
show your work.
Honestly, Elio's got the probably more racing experience than what those guys will have being alive. So why not? Elio gets his first NASCAR section win this weekend at Daytona.
Can you say that name for me one more time?
No, Elio. My name Elio Castro Neves.
Elio.
That's me dead.
All right, Cole.
I say that Ty Dillon is in the top 5 for the 500.
So it's going to be a demolition derby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the Daytona
Lap 15.
Yeah.
2021 all over again.
Now he's going to make it at lap 13, man, because it's his number. He's going to change it up.
What's your spicy take, Cole?
I just said it.
Oh, sorry. I had the my earbuds off. I'm sorry. What was it? I'm sorry.
That's how Dylan gets the top 5.
Oh, no, that ain't happening.
If you've seen the speed, well, you were there. The speed that he had at the Clash was insane for that car.
Oh dear Lord.
Well, I mean, it's not a. It's spicy. It's spicy. I'll give it to you.
Eh.
I think that there's better odds of Ty Dillon to get top 5 than your guy winning the ARCA race because he's going to be wrecked on that 5 by some 14-year-old.
By Cletus.
Cletus O'Neill
Yeah.
driving the General Lee 41. All right, Austin, what is your take? I'll ask you again after you say it, just like Blake did.
My spicy take is Justin Allgaier won't qualify for the race on speed or the duels. I don't think Allgaier makes the cut.
Who do you think gets in?
Truex,
Yeah.
JJ,
Helio.
Helio.
Oh.
I think Chandler Smith gets in. I feel like JJ is just going to find a way to get in. It feels like that man gets in every year for some reason. But I don't know. I just, every year it feels like there's that driver. It's like, yes, this is a driver that's going to qualify. There's this driver that's supposed to make it into the big race. Something happens. And I have a feeling, this is the junior's first shot in the Cup. It wouldn't surprise me if something happens. And
It'd be the most junior thing ever.
it really would. So,
My
I don't want that to happen. I don't
Yeah.
want that to happen. I like Justin, but I feel like something's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's basically a fifth Hendrick car, so I feel like it's probably going to make it in on speed.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. I think the 62 made it in on speed last year, so it goes to what you were saying.
All right, well, that's our spicy takes for Daytona, and we're going to finish this up with the Truck and Xfinity Series picks that we have. We're going to both pick the championship driver for both series and the winner of the Daytona race.
So I have randomized the names already to save time. We'll do Xfinity first. The order for Xfinity per randomizer is myself,
Of
Kent,
course.
Cole.
Rigged.
Shut up.
This wasn't randomized.
It's Austin,
You
Kent,
lying son
Cole,
of a gun.
and Blake. Austin, Kent, Cole, and Blake. I swear I put them in a randomizer wheel. So,
Picks no proof.
huh?
Picks or it didn't happen.
Man, frick y'all. So
Just pick Justin Allgaier already.
So my pick for the championship will be Sheldon. No, I'm kidding. It's going to be Justin Allgaier.
Sorry.
Justin Allgaier. I feel like I have to.
All right, who's next?
Kent.
For the
Man,
champ. For the
you
champion.
took mine. I
I think I took
Really?
everybody's.
Yeah, Allgaier. It's hard to not see him going back to back, and I just looking at all the names in the series.
I think there's very much an obvious pick that you're going to have to pick here for number 2. I feel like you've talked about this organization so much today that you would do it a disservice to not pick it.
Well, I think we're tracking.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to pick the name that you're thinking, and I might leave it on the table. It may be a mistake. I'm going Jesse Love, and I feel like the obvious name here is. I don't
Jesse
know. I mean,
Love.
I feel like the obvious guess, would have been to take Austin Hill if he's still on the table, but I'm going Jesse Love.
Okay. Cole.
Well, I mean, I had Austin Hill at my number 2, so, but
Pick Sheldon Creed, you want, coward.
he's on my number 4. I think I'm going to take the young man. I'm going to take Connor Zillett.
Ooh.
Dang it.
Oh.
That's who I was going to go with.
I guess you'll pick Austin Hill then.
So is this, we are picking for championship, right?
Championship.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could go Sam Mayer,
I think I'll
Nick-
pass.
Nick Sanchez, or Austin Hill. I mean, he's the next highest
Yeah.
favorite.
Sheldon
Yeah.
Creed.
Yeah, I'll go with Austin Hill for the championship.
All right. So
All right.
just for giggles, Vegas has Justin Allgaier as the clear favorite for
Shocker.
the championship.
Say
Second
that.
is Austin Hill at plus 550. Connor Zillich plus 700. He's third. Sam Mayer is pretty high considering he's in new equipment this year with Haas at 750. And then Jesse Love is a bit of a long shot, but he's in good equipment, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, those are the what Vegas has for Xfinity. All right, moving to truck. The randomizer has Blake.
Austin.
No, I'm second this time.
Oh, okay.
The randomizer has Blake first, then me, then Cole, then Kent for the truck. So sorry, Kent. You kind of get
Naturally. No, I'm used to it. It's all right. It is what it is.
He's used to that 4th spot.
So Blake, who you taking for the truck title?
Tony Bridinger. No, I'm just kidding.
No takebacks.
Give me Corey Haim for the championship in the truck series.
Heard that. Give me Ty. I'll take Majeski.
I think you should go with my driver.
I have him at number 3, but my number 2 hadn't been picked yet.
Okay.
But my number 4 hasn't either, and I'm going Penn. I'm going to take Daniel Hemrick.
Okay.
Cole did it. Kent.
All right, so remind me again. Y'all took Corey Haim.
Yeah.
Majeski, Heimrich.
So you got Enfinger, Rhodes, Riggs,
Chandler Smith.
Those are actually some good options left.
Honestly, yeah. I'm going to go Enfinger. I've always liked the guy.
I like Enfinger.
He's a solid guy.
Last year.
And he comes close. He's been close before, and then this past year, yeah, I remember. I mean, he was in it with down to the wire. So I won't go Enfinger.
I had him as my number 2, but
All right, those are in the database as we speak.
so what's the odds on those, Austin?
So the odds, Heim is a clear favorite. I mean, it's not even close. Plus 225 is his. But then it's Ty Majeski at 330. Chandler Smith at 450. Lane Riggs is surprisingly pretty high at 550. And then Daniel Hemrick is at 850. So those are the top 5 for the odds to win the championship.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
So what about these races, Austin? How we pick up for that?
The races, we'll do the same order if y'all want, or I can re-randomize it.
They do same order.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do Xfinity first for Daytona, which will race this Saturday. Man, for Daytona, man.
It's gotta be. You know who you want to pick.
I do. I
Shut
do.
Dang it.
Just shut your pie hole. Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna let Kent have this one. I'm gonna go with a long shot. Give me Jeb Burton.
Okay.
I had him at my number 3.
I was actually in victory lane at the race that he won at Talladega, not the rain out race, but the second one. That was pretty cool.
All right, I'll take Jeb Burton. Kent, Austin Hill.
Oh yeah, go on to the next one. Yeah, Austin Hill.
All right, Cole.
Give me Sheldon Creed. I think it's time he wins a race. I mean,
We've been saying this for the last how many years? All right, Blake, Burton, Hill, and Creed are off the board. Who you taking?
Give me Ryan Truex.
I don't hate that. I actually was considering him. Look,
He won at Daytona last year, I believe. In the
yeah, I think you're right.
So I mean, and he's not a full-time guy, so
Yeah,
why not save my full-time guys?
yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
All right. Next up for the truck series, the Fresh from Florida 250. See, Blake, you got first pick for the truck race. Who you taking?
Give me Michael McDowell.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good pick because you're not risking anything for the next week.
That's right.
Give me Justin Haley, another one I don't have to risk for next week.
That's right.
Cole,
Give me Ben Rhodes.
that's a good pick for Daytona. All right,
Man.
Kent.
We're not. This is just for fun, right?
No skin in the game on this one.
You
Just
got
your pride.
Give me
got-
Frankie.
Oh boy.
I can't believe none of us
Who?
went with Kligerman.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to see Kligerman win.
Oh,
Don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but if we're trying to win this for
Yeah.
Pride.
mantle of just winning it, then I probably wouldn't put too much money.
Right.
Okay, I got you guys down.
All right.
All right, so there was one thing that I wanted to do with you guys just for fun, kind of looking ahead towards this coming year. Over under wins for the year. So looking at what Vegas has as the line for drivers of total wins they'll have for the year, and thinking and asking you guys, do you think they'll get over that number or get under that number? So first up, I figured we'd go with everybody's favorite driver, Bubba Wallace.
Kyle Busch.
Bubba Wallace. Vegas has him at the over-under for 0.5 wins. So basically, that's how it works. That's how Vegas
That's what
works.
I was going to guess. That's what I was going to guess.
Do you guys...
He's going to win half a race.
Is that a rain out?
No, Vegas basically puts it that way. It's either you think he's going to get 0 wins or more than 0 wins, that being 1 win. So what do you guys think? Does Wallace get a win this year?
No. 0 under.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, man. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him.
Can you get negative wins?
Yikes.
I'm just curious.
Ask Austin Dillon.
Nah,
That's fair.
So I won't. Man, he's shown what he can do when he's got a really good car. He runs consistently, but I just don't know if I trust him to win. And so there's so much good competition this year. I'm gonna have to go with a 0.
He's got a new crew chief around him this year, so we'll see.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to go over.
You're going to go, you think he gets a win?
I think he gets one singular win.
That's kind of where I'm leaning too. I mean, with all the traction racing at, I think he's also a good plate track driver. I feel like he's bound to luck into one. I don't think he'll get it by skill, but I think he's bound to luck into one. The next driver that I have is Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's line is set at 3.5 wins on the year. Do you guys think he gets 3 wins, or do you think he gets more than 3 wins?
I think he gets more.
Yeah, give me over on that one too.
Over. What are we thinking, like 5? Maybe 5 wins this year?
I'll say 4 or 5. Yeah,
I'll go 3. I think
3 wins.
I'm saying at least 4. Yeah.
At least 4. Chase Elliott. This is probably the one that was kind of shocking, but not really. Chase Elliott is set at 1.5.
He's already won 1 race.
But races that count, 1.5, over or under?
I'll say over.
I say he's got good momentum coming into the year. He can't do any worse than he did last year, other than not win a race. So I say go over. Top of line equipment.
I would have said under before the clash,
Yeah.
but I saw a side of him that reminded me a lot more of the 2020 version of Chase Elliott that we saw instead of the one that we've seen post skiing incident. So yeah, I'm going to take over.
Okay, all right. This one had the highest line. Kyle Larson, 5.5 wins on the year.
You said 5.5?
5.5, yep.
He's got to win 6 races.
He had 7 last year, I think.
Go. You know what? I'll go under. I'll
Okay.
go under.
No faith in your boy.
I mean, I think he might get 4 or 5. I don't know. I don't know about 6.
Okay, can't. You're muted.
Now I'm thinking.
He's thinking.
I'm still buffering. 5.5 for Kyle Larson. I don't say he
6.
wins. Yeah, I don't say he wins 5 races. I'm gonna go under, and it's 5's a lot. Now, the parity that there is in NASCAR now to win 3 or more races, you're elite.
Yeah.
And so to say he's winning 5 races, to say under sounds bad, but I mean, he wins 5 races and he still holds claim to being the most talented driver in the sport, in my opinion. So, but I think he wins right at 5.
Okay. Got 2 more. SVG, the newcomer to the Cup Series, is listed at 1.5 wins on the year. Over, under.
Wait,
Under.
Austin, you didn't pick for the last 2. Do you think Larson's going to go over or under?
I think he goes over.
Okay.
I think he gets right at 6.
And I don't think you didn't say for Denny either.
Denny, I think it's over 3.5.
Just curious.
But yeah, SVG is listed at 1.5 for this year.
Over. I think he gets 3 wins this year.
I'd say
All
under.
road courses, Cole, or
I think he gets at least 1 oval win this year.
okay. What do you say, Blake?
I say under.
Under?
I think there's a really good possibility he wins one, but this is full time for him still for his first year. So I'll say under.
I'll say under. I think he gets one win. I think he'll win a road course. There's just so many on the schedule. I feel like he's due to get one. As talented as he is. And last one, Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs. Oh, Kent. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's Kent. I'm sorry.
just whatever. I'm going under too. But anyways, we can go ahead. Ty Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs is listed at 0.5. So do you think Ty Gibbs gets a win this year, or
Shout out to my boy Daniel. He goes under.
Oh, he's gonna hate you for that, even though
He doesn't listen anyways. It's okay.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to listen?
Daniel. I can't wait to get that mug on here one day. It's gonna be fun. We might have to change our rating from clean to explicit, but
Might.
I say, is this Ty Gibbs? Let's see, this is his third full-time year.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
No, second, right?
I don't know,
I think
man.
it's
I don't
third.
keep up with him.
He was
I don't keep up
not
with him.
a rookie last year.
I think this is going into his third full-time
Okay,
year.
that's usually the sweet spot for drivers to get their first win. Yeah, I'll say over. I'll say he wins the race this year.
Yeah, I'm going over too. I think Ty Gibbs wins 2 or 3 races this year. I think that side of him that you saw when he came. I mean, if you're ever curious, all right, what's the jump from Xfinity to Cup? Well, Ty Gibbs won in his first career start in the Xfinity Series. And we're starting year 3 in the Cup Series, and he's yet to find victory lane. So I think they get it together. I think he wins 2 or 3 races at least.
Yeah.
Do it, Austin. Do it.
I don't think he come close. I saw nothing last year. In my opinion, I mean, he had a couple top 5 finishes last year, but never once did he have a car where I said, "Yep, that's a dominating car right there. That's a dominating ride." He didn't luck into anything. Just I haven't seen anything out of him besides the silver spoon that leads me to believe that he's going to get a win this year. I don't foresee it happening. So that's all I had.
I will say he did fall off really badly, especially at the second half of last year.
To fall off, you have to be good to begin with, Blake.
Well, he was pretty good to start the year out. All right, but he did have a rough ending last year.
Did he win a duel or something last year?
He won the All-Star Open.
Yep, that's what it was. So he won a race last year, technically.
Well, considering competition, though.
All right, well, that's going to conclude our bonus episode here of 4 Wide. Next week's agenda, we're going to talk about Daytona and talk about how the big one took out 35 cars next week. So look forward to that. And we actually have our first guest coming on to talk about Atlanta. My coworker Bart should be on. He was going to try to be COTA week, but some complications came into his schedule. So we're going to have him next week. So he's very much a character. You guys are going to absolutely love him.
Looking forward to it.
He's the boomer. So Austin, you can call him Boomer all you want to because he is a boomer.
Is that dude I met at that Ward Davis concert?
No, that's Doug.
Okay.
I haven't talked to Doug in a hot minute.
Dude, Doug's a champ.
I don't think Doug's a boomer. I think Doug's like ascended, like above
the greatest generation.
He's a loomer.
I miss Doug. I wish I was still working with him. He's a good guy. But all right, folks, that's gonna be it for the rest of the day. So hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'm gonna go have PTSD flashbacks. So hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the racing. See you guys later.
See ya.
Peace.